So my reward for beating that 8-year-old with the white pieces was playing Grandmaster Awonder Liang with the black pieces in game 90 30-second increment in round 2. Didn't really feel like a reward, but hey, it's a good experience, right? And I can put them in the thumbnail. I will say this is the most interesting game that I played all weekend, but it's like definitely all downhill from here. So of course, I think Awonder's known for like playing everything and like playing offbeat things as well, and I knew he'd probably play a Scrub Buster against me. So I didn't really bother preparing, also because I am not a real chess player anymore, so preparing just feels goofy. And I don't even have any openings. I just kind of play moves. So I wouldn't have a theory to check even if I wanted to. So I just kind of sat down and I was like, all right, whatever happens, happens. And he went with 1 knight f3, which is like the typical thing that you play against someone lower rated, you know, because it's like, they don't know what they're doing when they have to play chess. They just know their theory. Joke's on him. I don't know how to play chess, and I don't know any theory. How do you even bother at all when you get really paired up? Because I knew it would make a good YouTube video if I played well. So maybe you just gotta make a YouTube channel about your chess games. So I played c5, and my reasoning behind this was that this is what I play against normal people who are not, you know, really good. And I was just gonna treat them. You gotta treat the GMs like they're people, because that's what they are. He's just a guy, and, you know, just play chess. So I was just playing how I would play against anyone else. So g3, g6. I'm basically playing my bullet openings here. Castles, knight c6. I'm kind of waiting to see where to put my knight depending on what he does with his center pawns. Because I might play knight f6, but a lot of the time in like the symmetrical English, for example, you wait to see where to put your knight depending on where white puts their knight. So if they put their knight here, a lot of the time e7 is a better square for your knight. And if they end up playing e3, knight f6 is a better square. Like, you don't really want to mirror your opponent. And that was all I knew. I wasn't 100% sure why. I just remembered that from being 1600 and like asking someone, what do I do against the English? And that was the one thing they told me, and I was like, all right, that's gonna come in handy. That's why I'm delaying developing my kingside bishop. So I play knight c6, and he goes c3. And of course, the point of c3 is to play d4, or maybe if not, at least to stunt my bishop. Maybe he'll go d3 and just play like e4, knight d2, and like just play like a King's Indian. And I thought for a while here, and I was like, in my bullet games, which is a good way to think, is you think back to your bullet games when you're playing a grandmaster in classical chess. I always get kind of fucked when I play d5 in these structures. Like, I just get destroyed. And I was trying to come up with something better. And the move that kept popping into my head was e5. Just in like a logical chess sense, okay, he attacked the square with a pawn, I'm attacking it with a pawn. What if I just add more control here and keep it like locked and closed, or at least get a space advantage, maybe? And I thought about it, and I was like, I don't know though. That's like, if it's not good, I'm gonna get absolutely destroyed, like absolutely destroyed. But at the same time, I'm gonna get destroyed no matter what I do because I don't know what I'm doing. So I might as well play the move that makes sense to me. So I played e5, and apparently it's like the best move, and this is still theory after e5. But I didn't know any of that. I just played it because I don't really want to play e6 in knight e7. It feels so passive. I prefer playing with this structure anyways, so I might as well just get it in, and if I die, I die. And of course, the big thing to think about is d4, which is what he played. And I don't want to do all this just to end up playing like e takes d4 and just having like this weird, not hanging pawn structure, but I'm gonna end up at least with like an isolated pawn or just like a weak, weird pawn structure. So this wasn't the point. Taking with the c pawn also I wasn't the biggest fan of, just for the same reasons. I can still play e4 here, but then like knight e5 comes and I don't really know what's going on. So instead I came up with something different, and I was like, all right, I'll just go e4. This is what I would play against anyone. I'm gonna sacrifice a pawn for the center. And, you know, if I die in 10 moves, I die. So he goes knight g5. He attacks now my pawn's attacked twice. This pawn's attacked, so I'm losing a pawn no matter what. But my point was to play d5. And if he takes this pawn for free, that's fine with me. I'm gonna play like h6, kick the horsey back, knight f6 maybe, castles, and like say that I have a space advantage. This knight is clumsy, my bishop is pretty good here, and this pawn, I might win it back, it might be irrelevant, I might get pressure along this diagonal. I just thought that it would be more fun to have good pieces than to have the same amount of material. And I think this is really quite a decent pawn sacrifice, and it's like around equal. However, he's really good, so he played this c4 move, which I didn't really consider. And I was like, huh, this shit's about to get complicated as hell. Because now the d pawn's hanging. And it's like, why can't I take the d pawn? And it's because, I mean, I can, and I did, but with what, etc., etc. So there's a lot going on here. So if I try to keep two center pawns, this obviously doesn't work, because when he takes with tempo on my horsey, and after queen takes d5, he can just take here. So this one's not defended. If I take with le bishop, again, c takes d5, and he takes this. So I thought, if I'm going to take on d4, it needs to be with the knight, so that there's at least not a tempo here. So I have a spare move to defend my e-pawn. So I played knight takes d4, he played c takes d5, and I went f5. And next move, if he lets me, I'm taking this pawn. I thought e3 wasn't really possible, because then the knight looks like a little trapped and not defended. And if this is the type of position that if I just get castled, I'm fine. If I can just castle, everything's okay. But now I'm like on the other side of the first game, in a way. How do you stay interested in chess over the long term? I don't. That's the real answer. But then he played e3, and I had to think. And I thought this might happen, of course. Because if I end up taking the knight, e takes d4 comes with the tempo. I have to move my queen again, and then, I don't know. I guess he takes here? And then, like, more tempo. And my king is just open, and I'm afraid he's going to destroy me. So, I kind of ruled taking this out immediately. Also because if you leave... I mean, this is not a bad piece if it's coming to e6. Let's just say that much right now. It could potentially be a bad piece. Because if the pawn gets too far up the board and is undefended and, like, a little isolated from everything else, it's either more likely that I'll just win it, or it's gonna fuck me. But I thought that if the pawn ended up here, I'd be more likely to be able to win it back, because it's further away from short-range pieces like the knight. It's not on an open file that he can defend with the rook, and the bishop is shut out, and it's on a light square. All that being said, my knight has 0 squares except for b5, so I need to determine whether or not I'm just lost, I need to determine whether knight b5 is playable. And I determined that I thought it was. The knight can plant itself on d6 if needed, and I can play like b6, bishop b7 for that, maybe, maybe not. Knight f3 intermezzo after e3? Do you mean knight e2? Knight f3 doesn't work because then the knight can just take it. But knight e2 is something to genuinely consider, because after queen takes e2, queen takes g5, I didn't lose this pawn, but oh wait, I did, because there's this fork. And so this is why I ruled this out. Well, also this. But everything's falling apart. I just don't have enough pieces over here, and my king's not castled. So that doesn't work for me. It is what I looked at. I think I probably looked at that before knight b5. But knight b5 also feels loosey-goosey because it's on this diagonal. And this bishop is working so many jobs, you know? He's got a night job, day job. Those are the only jobs I know of. But he's got both of them. And then he played queen a4 immediately. Like, he slammed it down and then he walked away. And I was like, okay. I really thought I checked this and that everything was fine. But maybe it's not. I thought that after queen a4 I could just play bishop d7, and I wasn't sure what the big follow-up was, because he just has to move away. And then I realized that if I play bishop d7, the bishop is now tied to the knight, and therefore e6 is not defended anymore. And so I'm kind of fucked. Like, it's looking like I'm gonna lose. So defend this position against a GM, go. You don't see any problems with bishop e7, knight e6, queen e7? Any problems? Surely you don't mean any What's the problem? Yeah, what's the problem? It looks great. I'll get to that in a minute. That is what I did and what you have to do, but it's by no means okay. Like, it's never a good thing to have a knight sitting on your face like this. Yes, I was playing Grandmaster Awonder Liang in a classical game because he showed up to my fucking casual weekend tournament, you know, that I was playing in because he wanted $1,000. So do you mean a6 right now? Like, a6 I should consider. But as soon as I play a6, guess what's gonna happen? Bonk, bonk. Well, not exactly this, but the knight's planting itself firmly on c4, and like the queen can invade, and the dark squares are just dead, especially if you were combined with this idea where I eliminate my dark squared bishop. Positionally, I'm like close to lost in a lot of these lines, and I have to be really careful. I didn't want to play a6 unless it was absolutely 100% necessary, because it gives me one more weakness I have to defend. So I played bishop d7, and after knight e6, queen to e7. And yes, if knight takes g7, queen takes g7, this position sucks, but there's like still a chance that I can get castled, and this pawn, it's either going to be a huge asset or maybe a weakness, but probably, knowing him, an asset. But he's good. So first he played knight a3, attacking my knight, and this is getting real complicated. So I wanted to play knight to d6, right? That's like the thing you want to do. But after knight takes g7, queen takes g7, queen to a5, like, why didn't I do this? I had a reason. I gotta remember what it was, though. Okay, so I think what happened, looking at my time, I'm realizing that I spent 20 minutes on this move, and so I think I was seeing some ghosts. Yeah, I think I should play knight d6, but I guess I hallucinated something after sitting there for 20 minutes. I think it's more likely that I just made something up. Like, I think I just convinced myself I couldn't do it, and then I found a reason for it. Maybe I was like, this looks fine for me, but I don't understand what's happening, and then I just like looked forever until I found a reason why I couldn't do it. Because honestly, knight a3 is not a great move. Like, he really should take this first because this allows knight d6. So I must have just sat there thinking, why is he letting me do this, until I found a reason, and that's, you shouldn't do that, but that's what happened to me. I'm very susceptible to these things. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know, I thought there was something going on, but I guess there wasn't. And I was just like really pissed off because I was like, to play a6, but that sucks because of this. Anyway, that's what happened. So he played knight takes g7, queen takes g7 now, and knight c4. And I remember thinking, I'm so fucked. So fucked. a6 is a lot worse than knight. Like, I'm already -2 here. I go knight e7 and he goes queen a5, and this is the next like really annoying moment. Because I was like, why the hell can't I just take this pawn? He's just giving me a pawn. Why is he giving me a pawn? Find the reason why not pawn. Yeah, so it's basically winning. It's not even equal after knight d6. It's like white is slightly better. A little better than slightly better. Knight takes d6, rook d1. Yeah, but then I solid up. Looks fine to me. I guess a4. I don't know. I couldn't figure it out. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't end up taking it, but I have no idea why. I was just like, I believe you, I guess. It just looks like I'm gonna die. And I think that's true. The computer says I should play it, but honestly, I played knight c8 just to cover my weaknesses, and I had like a defensive idea in mind. And it's like -3 here. Anyway, bishop d2. Honestly, I thought a4 and I should resign. Not sure what my plan was here. I guess this. But Then he just takes on c5. And he surprised me with bishop d2. And it now is time to find the only defensive idea that can, like, possibly let you hang on and maybe not lose this game. Castles, queen f6 and b6. Yeah, so queen f6, the idea is to play b6 and just get you away from the dark squares. And my opponent just let this happen, and I was really confused because I thought that, so a4, b6, I'm attacking the queen, and the queen is, like, trapped now because he took away his last square. So he has to play knight takes b6, queen takes b6, a, b, bishop b5. Is this position even bad for me? Like, truly, like, is it? Like, it's bad, but, like, I'm not lost, and I was lost. That's what I mean by, is this even bad for me? So he goes rook f to c1, and I'm having trouble deciding, like, take or not take, because if he takes, then my knight's good, and he had to spend a move doing it. This is definitely a game from here, yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's, like, not really that bad, depending on how well I defend. I ended up castling because, like, even though this is heading towards an endgame, so I don't really want my king over here, I want it in the center, I didn't have a great way to get my rook into the game. Like, I remember thinking this move just looked really risky. Maybe I was afraid of something like that. I don't know. But I also put my king on this diagonal, so I don't know what to tell you. I also had 12 minutes here and he had 70, so I was trying to budget my time a little bit. So queen a3 attacking the pawn. Not much I can do about that. So I go queen d6 to at least try to blockade this boy in the future and start putting pressure on the d-pawn. There was a 30-second increment. So queen to d6, queen c5, rook d8. And then he does this, you know, GM shit. Bishop a5, forcing rook d7, then bishop b4. I can't take here because this is a checkmate, so I have to trade the queen. Rook takes, and thankfully knight b6 defends my rook, so he can't play rook takes b5 because of the thing that's happening. And so, honestly, at this point, I was really feeling, like, not terrible about my life choices. I mean, or at least where they have gone. So he's still doing GM shit, so d6 I can't take because of many tactics going on with this. I won't bore you with the details, but I go rook c8 because I want to trade pieces, because if you're down material, you don't want to trade, but that's referring to pieces. If you're down material but it's a pawn, you actually do want to trade pieces because you're more likely to draw the endgame with fewer pieces on the board. Especially when it's, like, overextended. And if this is king and pawn endgame, then, like, I might be doing absolutely fine. So, bishop f1. Rook takes c5. Bishop takes c5. And knight c4. And here is where I was honestly thinking I was going to hold this. And I kept thinking that for quite some time. What do we think the evaluation of this position is? Because if he takes my knight, it's opposite colored bishops. And I have his pawn blockaded on a light square. And my knight can hop around really easily, like, on these, like, my knight feels pretty good. I mean, if he doesn't trade the bishop for the knight, and it turns out to be opposite colored. Opposite colored bishops is fake news when there are still rooks on the board. Well, so if bishop takes c4, bishop takes c4, what is your long-term plan to actually win this game? Because if I keep my bishop here and my rook here, how win? Like, your rook doesn't even have an entry point, especially if I close this area off. Like, I maintain that I think this is a draw. Maybe he'd still beat me, but just rook d1. Okay. King f7. Not here. Instead of taking the knight, rook d1 here. Yeah, but then I go knight takes b2. I'm doing great here. So I was pretty happy from defending that absolutely awful position where I'm like, I could resign. There were points in that game where I could have resigned. I think I would draw this against like 90% of masters, 0% of grandmasters. How does white win this lol? Seems like black always has a resource. That is an excellent, excellent point. So my opponent played the move b3, which is saying, I do not want the opposite colored bishop's endgame, which is so fair, bestie. So after knight d2, bishop takes b5, a takes b5. He plays his bishop b4 move, which the point is that I can't take on b3 because my knight's trapped. And this is something to keep in mind. But I was never like super planning on that anyway. Like knight f3 and then playing knight e5. I can head to d3 from there. I can help blockade from there. But king g2, knight e5, rook a5 attacking my pawn. Now I can play rook to b7, defending the pawn. And then I can play like knight to d7. Okay. What do we think the evaluation of this position is? Huh? Why not knight takes d6 instead of knight d2? Oops. Because of rook d1. This was my initial, like, plan. Knight b7? I mean, like, minimum bishop c4 and you can't even take, and then, like, I don't know. This isn't... This looks... like, and then I take here. And then... I'm not really that great at endgames, but I kind of felt like my best bet was to keep the pawns... Not give him any, like, really strong pass pawns. Yeah, minimum. Yeah, like, against a GM, like I'm screwed there. I thought my best bet was to, like, keep him with only his, like, bad piece and try to make my piece better than his. But anyway, we have some opinions on what the evaluation is on the chat. Someone says 1, 0, 1.4 equals 0. It's white to play and win now. So... shows what I know. Rook b7 was a huge blunder. I need a line, not moves. Because, you know, I saw a move, I didn't see the line. Okay. Well, Mr. Tactics is in the chat. My opponent played rook a8 check, followed by rook f8. And I'm just lost. I was like, what the hell? That came out of nowhere. I mean, it didn't. I'm sure he's been planning this type of tactic forever. Like, it's been in the back of his head. So, of course, the point is I can't take, because after d7 check, there's a little wall, and he just makes a queen. And I did play king e6, but now after rook e8, he's just in. Like, he's just in. He got in. How long did he take? Oh, yeah, let's find out. So, after I played rook b7, right? Move 34. He thought for a minute, and then he played rook a8, rook f8 instantly. And then he started gaining time for the rest of the game. So, yeah, I'm fucked. So rook b8 is played, he takes. Knight c6 at the tempo. And I'm still trying, you know, I'm doing my best here. Trying to keep everything blocked. And then he fucking baits me with this move. So I play knight d8, I'm like, ooh. Right? And then he was bishop d4 with a subtle idea in mind. And I play knight f7, thinking I'm making a threat. And then he just takes it. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's fair. And after king takes f7, bishop b6, he goes into the king and pawn endgame where he's just winning. And then I, like, resigned here. He spent 3 minutes on the whole game. No, he was down to... like 53 minutes by the end of the game. He started with 90. But yeah, GMs are pretty good.